I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com, and today I wanted to talk about the gullible drinker, or it will never happen to me. The most obvious aspect to this is in our health, and I think a lot of us are guilty of doing this to ourselves, thinking that bad health is something that will never happen to us, right? That we'll find a way around it, or that we're not really as bad as that person or that person, The hospitals are 85-90% full of people who have caused their ill health on themselves, right? 85 to 90%. So I'll repeat the statistic again. 3.3 million people die every single year from drinking alcohol, and alcohol drinking causes over 200 conditions in the human body. Now, with all that evidence, 200 conditions, and surely if you keep drinking alcohol, then it is going to happen to you one way or another, right? You're going to fall into ill health through this if you don't stop. So that's the first area. The second area is, for the gullibility anyway, is when we're thinking about, we're sort of open to suggestion from the alcohol companies through their marketing, from the government who tell us, yeah, look, this is not a drug, this is not bad for us, this is all you have to do is drink responsibly, and you'll be all right, But don't worry about it because, it's only a beverage. So, just like water, it's easy to drink responsibly, except if there's something wrong with you. And then, you're going to find it difficult. And that's the only people that don't drink responsible. People hide the drinking all the time. The people don't generally want other people to know how much they're drinking because, even though there's a normality behind alcohol, there is also, underneath it all, we all fucking know that it's a drug, and we all know the slippery path that it takes us. And even though we might confabulate, we might deny this to ourselves, that our alcohol problem is an actual problem. We know at the end of the day that it's a problem. Otherwise, we'd be quite open about what we drink and how much we drink, and we'd be quite open about the fact, yeah, I'm not drinking that shit anymore. This planet that we live on, the society and the thought processes that we have to put up with from society in general. Most people, when they stop doing this, they're ashamed. And I fucking don't get that, It's one of the things that I never thought about when I started out a website on quitting drinking, just how many people are ashamed of stopping drinking or trying to get this problem out of their lives. And it's because they are led to believe that drinking is normal, alcohol drinking is normal, and it's only when you admit that you're drinking too much, that you're abnormal, right? And that there's something wrong with you, and that there's going to be consequences, right? Think about this logically. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. How many people do you know in your life, how many drinkers do you know who drink underneath the normal limits, right? So that's drinking, I think it's a pint a day. It's very small anyway, depending on who you ask, depending on what government agency or, what sort of motivations they've got behind their statements, you're going to get different figures, right? But it's a small amount. And I know very few people that drink that, except when, somebody's, enjoying a glass of sherry once a year or that kind of stuff, There was a recent study that showed that the only people that they could find health benefits from were those who drank less than one drink per week, right? less than 1 drink per week, and even then there was no, the health benefits were insignificant. So they were so tiny that it was a statistical thing, right? So they were able to prove something using statistics, but in the real world it just doesn't make any fucking sense. So this bullshit that they're putting out and going, yeah, healthy drinking is you can drink 2 drinks a day, and get away with it. That's bullshit, There's certainly no health benefits to that. And from what I see as a drug, when people understand that it's a drug, with the tolerance, every drink that you take, your body gets more and more tolerant to the effects of the alcohol. So if you're drinking alcohol, if you're sticking to that limit of 2 drinks a day, that over the top limit, then your body is soon going to get used to that. So what do you do then? You either stop drinking for a while and start drinking again, so that your body reaccustoms itself to not having alcohol into it, and then has to go through the tolerance procedure again. But even then, your body remembers, so it doesn't take as long the next time around for you to become tolerant, right? It's a fairly quick process. So we're just being duped all around. We're the marketing companies that create the marketing campaigns for the alcohol companies. They all put out the bait, of that drinking is fun, drinking is normal, and we fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. And we don't think about the long-term consequences because we presume that we're having fun in the moment. And the more sort of fun you have in the moment, the more fun that you perceive you're having in the moment, right? The harder it is to pull yourself away from it. I started drinking when I was very young. Once I started having money, I started drinking heavily, right? So my idea of fun has always involved the concept of alcohol, always. I never knew what having fun was like before. I was afraid of not drinking because of that fun concept, right? I was afraid that if I stopped drinking, I'd no longer be funny. I would no longer be able to have fun. I would no longer be able to socialize. Would no longer be able to relax. And we have all this bullshit programming that says that if you don't drink, you're a teetotaler, right? You're an abstainer, right? All these words that have got negative meanings, these are the words that come to our brains. I'm living a sober life. Look at all the other things that these things are associated with. These words are associated with. Sober, it would be like a monk or a priest, or an abstainer would be somebody who's like, yes, I don't touch that stuff, not at all. No. What, sex? No, we don't do that around here. No. That's an abstainer, That's teetotaler is the same fucking thing, In reality, when you see people, I walk along this track every couple of days, right? And there's guys coming down here, flying down here on bikes. We go down to the beach here, and there's people kite surfing, and there's guys windsurfing. On the calm day you see people out, and they're on these boards where they're standing there and they're just rowing along. That looks great fun to me, but I have never done it. I like walking, that's my fun. Get out walking. I like being with my family, that's my fun. And that's all the times that we have fun in our lives are generally while we're doing something else, right? When the alcohol is involved. So we have alcohol, something else is involved, but we say, well, it's the alcohol, Without the alcohol, you can't have the fun in the same situation, And that's, bullshit. Of course you can have fun. If you try to go into a pub, right, and you sit into a pub, when you look at advertisements, for instance, about bars, and you see these advertisements of all people having fun, and everybody is laughing and stuff, and everybody is having the crack, and they're all like, yeah, hey, it's good to see you and stuff like this, aren't we? We're full of life, and you know, everything is brilliant. And well, you know, how if you're a pub goer, how many times do you actually see that in the pub? You know, and that's part of the bullshit as well, you know, because I remember the pub that we used to go into, Brogan's in Ennis. That was my favourite pub, and we sort of go in there sort of every day after work, almost every day, and we'd have a pint, 2 pints, 3, 4, whatever it was, you know. It wasn't always the same. You know, sometimes you'd spend the entire evening in there, other times it would be only a couple of drinks, right? But it would be the same conversation over and over again. How'd you do in work today, you know? And obviously, you know, my work was the same thing. I was working with trees, you know, it was the same shit, you know, and I couldn't talk about, I mean, if I was talking to another forestry guy, I could have probably a decent conversation because there's different things that are happening and all that kind of stuff. Talking to a guy who, you know, his job is to fix roads, you know, he works on the roads. So me talking to him about my job and him talking to me about his job are like, yeah, all right, yeah, a couple of sentences and that's that topic finished, you know. So then you go back to the same old mundane stuff, you know. And that's time and time again. You know, that's the same conversation that is happening over and over again. And regardless of where you drink, if you drink it with somebody else, that's going to be the same stuff. If you're a housewife and you're talking to another housewife, it's going to be the same stuff. You know, you're talking about the same stuff over and over again. And maybe once in 50 times, right, you go into the pub and the conditions would be just right. The atmosphere would be really good. There would be people there, you know, a lot of people there that you knew, a lot of your friends, and you go in and say, oh yeah, how's it going? Yeah. And you'd have a really good night, right? So you come away from it buzzing, right? And you'd think to yourself, oh yeah, this is what it's all about. But then you'd wait another 50 times then. You know, you'd have to go in there another 50 before that same event happened again, you know, before anything close to that kind of fun happened again. But you'd be telling yourself, well, you know, this is the crack, you know, you'd be hoping for it, you know. And it's like a gambler who goes in and he's playing the slot machines, you know. He's only going to win once every so often, right? But it's those wins that keep him pumping the money into the machine over and over again, pulling the handle, you know, listening to the crazy sounds of the one-armed bandit as the things are coming down, you know, and he's putting his money in and putting his money in and putting his money in. Every so often the win will come out and Bob's your uncle, he's set off again, you know. And it's exactly the same thing with alcohol, right? You have a good night every so often, right? But it's once in a blue moon. But the alcohol marketing, that all feeds into that process that we've got going in our heads, you know. I mean, these alcohol marketers, they hire smart psychologists, right, who know all this about us, you know, that can figure out exactly what fires our buttons off, you know. And they know that every so often we do have really fun times in the pub, right? Fun times when you're drinking. There's no arguments, there's no people vomiting, there's no whatever, you know. Or if those things are happening, they've happened after you're so pissed that you don't remember it anyway, you know. But all you remember is, oh jeez, last night was a great night, you know. I can put up with the hangover now, you know. So, you know, that's part of the bullshit. And, you know, we fall for that hook, line and sinker every single time, you know. We fall for that. You know, and I don't think that we're gullible people, but I think, you know, it's just one of those things that we're fed so regularly, you know. I mean, don't forget that these companies, they're making fortunes they spend fortunes on the market, and they're making fortunes out of their products, you know. So they've been doing it for a long, long time, and not only have they been doing this, they've learned a lot from the cigarette manufacturers and the advertisements and their psychological profiles and how they did things. And, you know, they're doing exactly the same sort of shit, you know. So, you know, just be aware of the bullshit. Aware of what these people are forcing into our brains over and over and over again, until we're sort of like automatic controlled robots. You know, and I've already touched on the third area of gullibility, and that's that, you know, like we don't take into account that alcohol is a drug, or we sort of say, well, yeah, well, it might be a drug, but, you know, I can handle my alcohol. You know, it's not going to affect me in the same way as it'll affect other people, you know, or the illnesses are not going to happen to me, you know. I always have fun when I'm drinking, you know. It's my best pastime, and without alcohol, you know, my life is seriously going to be shit, you know. So that's the third area. So I'm just saying that these are not areas where we have to be gullible, right? Where this gullibility, this sort of, it's programmed into us over a long time, you know, from before we started drinking. But it's something that once you know what's happening and you start looking out for it, you see it on a regular basis. And, you know, just as you can quit drinking, you know, by not putting the alcohol into your mouth one mouthful at a time, right? You also get rid of this bullshit by every time you hear a message like this, you start thinking about it and thinking, well, you know, am I just being gullible here, you know? This is not true. You know, that picture that you see up on the screen, it might happen every so often, but in general, it doesn't happen, you know? My alcohol drinking life is boring. I mean, my alcohol drinking life was boring. Most of the time, I'd be sat there at home, you know, in front of a television watching reruns of fucking shite or listening to sad music and, you know, feeling fucking fairly shitty about myself, you know. Every so often, as we say, you go out and you have a good time, but this is the most important part of it. The good time is because of the people around you. Sorry, that was a spider's web. The good time is because of the people around you. It's because of what you're doing. Take the alcohol out of the situation and you're going to have just as much fun, if not more fun, right? You know, think about this. You know, sure enough, when you stop drinking at the beginning, you're going to feel uncomfortable, right? You feel discomfort in this area of your life. But once you get used to that and you overcome that discomfort, you'll find that you're going to have much more fun, no matter what you're doing, you know what I mean? So you just have to keep going with it and pushing yourself through, you know. Keep going through keep reminding yourself that, you know, life is good. It's the people that you're with that are, you know, that create the fun. It's the atmosphere that creates the fun. It's the environment that creates the fun. Not the alcohol. The alcohol fucking depresses it. You know, how many times have you got up the next day and you can't fucking remember a thing that you've done the day before? Do you understand? Look, I'll finish it there. If you have any comments at all, leave them down below. Come on over to the website. You'll find the audio below the video. If you want to sign up to the newsletter, then do. Until next time, you know, just listen out for these messages, and, you know, every time you hear one, try and bring it into your, think about it, you know, think about the alcohol messages that you're hearing all over the place, you know, that are brainwashing you, you know. The only way to unbrainwash yourself is to do it yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for you. So until next time, stay safe, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, keep the gullibility messages out of your brain. I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Onwards and upwards.